Hey everyone, welcome back to Embroidery Tutorials and my 90 variation chain stitch sampler, which you can pick up in my Etsy shop if you would like to sew along with us. We're currently on circle 4 out of 7, and today we're going to be covering two very random stitches. One of them is rope stitch, which is a variation of chain that I absolutely love and only discovered recently. So cool. The other one is going to be a combo stitch, so we're going to be getting into a lot more combo stitches as we move on from here. They're not necessarily variations of chain, but it's what happens when you combine chain with another stitch. So today it's going to be the combo of chain stitch and blanket stitch. We are going to be sewing on this very close together double line right around the outside of our center, and you can just split it in half. Half of it is going to be our rope, half's going to be the blanket chain, and we're going to get started with rope stitch. First thing you're going to do is come up on the outside circle of this little double ring here, and then you're going to go back down on the inside parallel to where you started. We're basically creating a twisted chain stitch here, but it's going to be kind of at a diagonal, and that's what will create this very rope-like texture when we're finished. So you're going to flip your chain over. I used to think you could go in either direction for this, but I have since discovered that you only get this great rope texture if you're flipping so that your inside leg is on top. I kind of think of it as being the long leg to create that nice diagonal on top of the shorter working leg. And then we're coming back up through the fabric on the outside circle again, one stitch length away, and that can be as long or as short as you want it. The longer you make it, the more of a thin, long diagonal you're gonna get. I like to make it just sort of a nice mid-length normal stitch length. And you're going through the loop that you have created. That's your very first stitch there. And from there, we're going back down on the outside line right next to where you went down the first time. So you want these stitches to be really close together so that you get this really nice rope look at the end. The top loop of your stitch is going to be thicker than the bottom leg of your stitch, which is why we want that leg to be on the inside circle, which is already smaller than the outside circle. You know how it works. So once we've gone back down through the fabric, we are again twisting our loop with that inside leg being on top, and then coming back up through the fabric on the outside through that loop, pulling tight again, and you can already see how we're getting these lines of diagonal stitches all lined up on top of each other with sort of this thicker look on the outside, thinner look on the inside. You're just going to continue doing this all the way to the end. As soon as you get the flow of this, it's really fast, it's really easy, and it is such an interesting stitch. I love the texture this one makes. Once we get to our last stitch here, we finished off our half circle. You're going to pull your thread through that final loop, and then you're just doing a tiny tacking stitch like normal to hold down that last loop, and you're all done. Now we're going to move on to a stitch combo here. We are combining chain stitch with blanket stitch to create something really interesting. Who knows when you will need this? Who knows when you could use this? But it's the combining of all these different stitches that really leads to some creativity and interest in your textures and colors and designs and embroidery. So this is where it really gets fun for me, and I love trying all these things out. We're going to start out by creating two lines of chain, one on that inside line, one on the outside line. Very simple. You can do whatever kind of regular chain you want, forward, reverse, do it as you please. Two regular lines of chain. That's it, and then we'll start the interesting stuff. Now we're going to be connecting these two lines of chain with a blanket stitch. I'm using a cotton pearl thread here just because I'm experimenting. The first time that I did it, I used regular 3 strands of embroidery floss, and it really has a different look. So play around with different sizes and types of thread as well. Definitely do different colors because yay colors. And you can get so many different looks out of this. It's a lot of fun. So with our second color and style of thread here, we're gonna come up in the middle of our 2 rows. And then the first thing you're gonna do is kind of lay your thread out in a loop so that you know what you're coming through. And then your needle slides underneath the inside legs of your 2 rows of chain. Just the inside legs, because otherwise you're gonna get a totally different look. You wanna be sliding from the top to the bottom, or from the inside to the outside, I guess you could say, so that when your needle comes through those 2 legs, it's also going through the loop of this new thread and creating that blanket stitch. And then you just continue doing that all the way to the end. Loop your thread around towards the left, slide your needle from top to bottom under those inside legs, going through the loop that you created, and carry on in this way all the way to the end. When you get to the end, you're just going to slide your needle back through the fabric to anchor down that last blanket stitch, and you're all done. This is one of the most interesting textures that we've seen yet on this sampler, and it's fascinating. It looks so different depending on what styles of thread you use, so really have some fun. Play around with this one. Try it a couple different times if you want. It's so easy, and it looks so interesting. I'm sure you will find a great reason to use this somewhere. All right, and that's it for today. 2 very random stitches, but I hope you enjoyed both of them. I hope you'll add them both to your arsenal, especially that rope stitch. I am a big fan of the rope stitch. Come back next week. We're gonna be doing some more stitch combinations, a lot more colors coming onto this sampler, a lot more regular chain combined with something to make it more interesting. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.